World War II, a new conflict began, known as the Cold War. This is a battle between two great powers, the United States and the Soviet Union. It began in the late 1950s, and space would become another dramatic arena for this competition.
On October 4, 1957, a Soviet Tsar-7 intercontinental ballistic missile launched Sputnik. It was the world's first artificial satellite and the first man-made object to be placed into the Earth's orbit. In 1958, the U.S. launched its own satellite, Explorer I, designed by the U.S. Army rocket scientist, Wernher von Braun. That same year, President Dwight Eisenhower signed a public order creating the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, a federal agency dedicated to space exploration.
In 1959, the Soviet space program launched Luna 2, the first space probe to hit the moon. In April 1961, Yuri Gagarin, the Soviet astronaut, became the first person to orbit Earth, traveling in the capsule-like spacecraft, Vostok 1. On 5 May 1961, astronaut Alan Shepard became the first American in space. In February 1962, John Glenn became the first American to orbit Earth. And by the end of that year, the foundations of NASA's lunar landing program, dubbed Project Apollo, were in place. On July 16, 1969, U.S. astronauts Neil Armstrong, Edwin Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins set off on the Apollo 11 space mission, the first lunar landing attempt. After landing successfully on July 20, Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon's surface. He famously called the moment one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. By landing on the moon, the United States effectively won the space race that had begun with Sputnik's launch in 1957. Mariner 4 was launched on November 28, 1964. It performed the first successful flyby of the planet Mars and returned the first pictures of the Mars surface. People have been speculated about possibility of life on Mars for centuries. Pictures from Mariner 4 showed that there were no signs of any life. In April 1971, the Soviets launched the first ever space station, Salyut 1. It was inhabited for 23 days, but unfortunately, the crew was died due to an accident while re-entry on his return flight. In 1977, NASA launched Voyager 1 and 2 deep space probes to study solar system and interstellar space. In 1979, Voyager 1 flew through Jupiter. It detected a ring around Jupiter, and volcanoes on Io, Jupiter's moon. Both Voyager 1 and 2 are still active nowadays. They have gathered a large amounts of data about gas giants. Voyager 2 is expected to enter interstellar space within a few years of 2016. In 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope was deployed in low Earth orbit by NASA. It is used to gather breathtaking photos of deep space. In 1997, a U.S. robot rover named Sojourner wheeled onto the surface of Mars to explore the planet's geology. In 1998, the International Space Station was established. It was intended to be a laboratory, observatory and factory in low Earth orbit.
More than 50 years of human activities in space have produced societal benefits that improve the quality of life on Earth.
Overcoming the challenges of working in space has led to many technological and scientific advances that have provided benefits to society on Earth. In areas of health and medicine, robotics, transportation, public safety, consumer goods, energy and environment, information technology, and industrial productivity. Investment in the Apollo moon exploration program in the 1960s influenced higher level of U.S. education. One of the lessons from Apollo is that having a visible space exploration program is important in encouraging young people to pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Such studying field will also imply to students that they have the possibility of long-term exciting careers in science and technology. Space exploration missions offer a unique perspective on humanity's place in the universe, satisfying our curiosity and inspiring wonder. What is the nature of the universe? Is the destiny of humankind bound to Earth? Is there life elsewhere in the universe? Space exploration has also inspired the development of various movies, video games, books, photographs and paintings. Cultural products are a very visible symbol for how society relates to space exploration. Space exploration is a catalyst for nations to build mutual understanding and trust, and international partnerships that advance common exploration goals help to align interests among nations and promote diplomacy. Like the International Space Station, which has 68 nations to date that have participated in.
Modern technology can be good to us, but sometimes the very thing we create to make our life easier have unpleasant effects. For example, resource consumption and creating pollution. Our time on Earth is ending due to overpopulation, amount of waste increasing, and running out of resources. Average temperature keeps rising, and one day the polar ice cap will melt. This will cause large area of land to be submerged in water. And Stephen Hawking, a famous astrophysicist, once mentioned,
mankind will not be able to live 1,000 years, if it doesn't find other planet as a new place of residence. Spreading out into space will have an even greater effect. It will completely change the future of the human race and maybe determine whether we have any future at all.
As our precious Earth is dying, the inevitability of moving is certain. So, humankind's fate will depend on the development of space technologies in order to travel easily between planets. Where will we start, one might ask? Well, we can start close, somewhere we're all familiar with.
The Red Planet or Mars. First of all, we have to establish a base on Mars, so that we'll be able to transform the planet's atmosphere into more of an Earth-like state. This process is called terraforming. It will take decades to complete this, but if we are able to do this, it would be the beginning of a new age, where human life on alien planets would be a reality. This might only be science fiction for us, but it'll soon be a reality for the generations to come.
Humans are constantly developing new technology for living in space, and possibly for other planets in the future as well. Here are some current progress of technology for living in space.
Most of the food on board is vacuum sealed in plastic bags. The preserved food is generally not held in high regard by the crew, and when combined with the reduced sense of taste in a microgravity environment, drinks and soups are sipped from plastic bags with straws, while solid food is eaten with a knife and fork, which are attached to a tray with magnets to prevent them from floating away. Any food that does float away, including crumbs, must be collected to prevent it from clogging up the station's air filters and other equipment.
Showers on space stations were introduced in the early 1970s, which was a monthly activity. The ISS does not feature a shower. Instead, crew members wash using a water jet and wet wipes, with soap dispensed from a toothpaste tube-like container. Crews are also provided with rinseless shampoo and edible toothpaste to save. Double-sided solar provide electrical power for the ISS. These bifacial cells are more efficient and operate at a lower temperature than single-sided cells commonly used on Earth.
The station produced a lot of heat. This heat can be dissipated through the walls of the stations. Ammonia is continuously pumped through pipework throughout the station to collect heat, then into external radiators exposed to the cold of space, and back into the station.
Radio communications provide telemetry and scientific data links between the station and mission control centers. Radio links are also used for audio and video communication between crew members, flight controllers and family members.
We have come a long way from our humble beginnings. Since then, our advances in science and technology has been tremendous. Despite that, we can only go so far, and only if we give time and effort to our space programs. Imagine how much further we can discover